All right, good evening. I'd like to call the meeting of the Hancock County Area Plan Commission to order this evening, April 21st, 2026. First thing I'd like to note to everyone is that we're short some members this evening, so we're right at a quorum minimum with 5 members present this evening. So any action this evening will require essentially a unanimous decision from these 5 people. So if you're uncomfortable with that, you will have the opportunity to request a continuance of your petition. All right, we ask that this evening you please turn off any cell phones, electronic devices, noisemakers. Our first order of business this evening will be the adoption of the March meeting minutes that were submitted electronically, actually just recently, the updated version today.
Mr. President, there's only 4 of us here that can vote on it. One was not here, so I asked for it to be continued.
Yeah, the minutes. I did spring break.
Yeah, Byron wasn't here.
Yep, you're correct. We'll have to continue that to next month. All right.
You need a motion on that?
Yeah, let's have a motion to continue the...
Motion to continue the minutes till there's a quorum for the minutes to be voted on.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to continue our meeting minute approval until next month. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Our roll call this evening, we have so we've got Mr. Dean Fout, we have Mr. Byron Holden, Mr. Wendell Hester, Mr. Scott Woldridge, and myself, Michael Long. I'd like to call your attention to our agenda. All County Area Plan Commission agendas now list all of the appointed members and the appointing body so that that is easily traceable for you. If you have a concern and you want to go to that appointing body, you can find that on our meeting minutes and on our agendas and on our website. I'd like to also advise that all testimony is being recorded and taken under oath. We request that anyone wishing to speak do so when called upon. We'll ask you to come forward, face our attorney to my left, and be sworn in before speaking. All persons speaking will be asked to give their full name for the record, and please spell your last name so that we have accurate meeting minutes. Our Planning Director, Kayla, will give her staff report. Then the petitioner is given 10 minutes for their presentation, and then that's followed by a collective 10 minutes for any remonstrators. We then offer 5 minutes for government officials and then a 5-minute petitioner rebuttal at the end. Our attorney will give each party a 2-minute and 1-minute warning while they're speaking. We ask that all persons conduct themselves in a civil manner, and if you aren't able to do that, we reserve the right to ask you to leave. This meeting is being recorded and streamed for public viewing, and by participating, you acknowledge that your image, voice, and comments may be captured and made publicly available. This meeting has been properly noticed in accordance with Indiana Code 514.1.5, and then just so you know, the black chairs in the middle are the ones that are most visible on the screen. So if you're not comfortable being on the screen, I wouldn't sit there. We had an item on our agenda that was withdrawn. That was the 9-Star Park, and that rezoning was withdrawn. And I believe that the project is moving forward as a nature preserve under its current R1 zoning. So if you're here for that, there will be no further discussion on that rezone. So with that, we have 2 hearing items this evening, and we'll go ahead and get started with hearing item number 1.
Tonight we have a primary plat for a major residential subdivision to consider. This is on 80.68 acres located in Center Township, just on the south side of Maxwell. The goal is to create a 22-lot major subdivision on septic and well. The petitioner is here tonight, is represented by Prime 47 and Jeremiah Hamman. Access for the subdivision would be through Country Mill subdivision. No additional access points would be on State Road 9 or the adjacent county road system at this time. Street stubs are planned for adjacent property access. This was an early sketch plan that was discussed with us and largely has held pretty true to how the layout has proceeded. You can see here that how the neighborhood connects to the south side of Country Mill subdivision and ends in a cul-de-sac. Some additional right-of-ways have been added onto the primary plat, and also the regulated drain that goes through the southern tier of plats is going to be relocated to the south edge of the subdivision. There is a gate across the end of the cul-de-sac to create some kind of private lots. We discussed this at a little bit at the tech committee, and neither the single point of access on State Road 9 nor the gate gave any issues. We talked about, I did touch base with 9-Star. They mentioned that Knox box typically makes the gate okay, and Highway wasn't concerned with the single point of access on 9 until significantly more lots become part of a subdivision. Here was the primary plat as it was submitted. You can see what I was talking about with the relocated regulated drain and the changed up road stubs. Also sidewalks added to the streets.
Could you point out the entrance to me?
Yeah. So do you see where the roads go up and into, oh, there we go, up and into Country Mill? There's an existing stub. And then here's the boulevard entrance off of State Road 9.
Where is it? Right there?
Here. You'll notice that these are all fairly large lots. You can see kind of how they line up against the back of Country Mill. I've included some segments on primary plat approval and the process that this board goes through. The technical meeting minutes are included in your packets, so you can see what comments were there and what comments have been addressed. So the Plan Commission has the ability then to determine that the plat application and plat comply with the standards in the subdivision control in this chapter. They shall make written findings and may grant primary approval to the plat if all of these things are true. As a condition of primary approval, the Commission may specify the manner in which public ways shall be laid out, graded, and improved, a provision for water, sewerage, and other utility services, a provision for lot size, number, and location, a provision for drainage design, and a provision for other services as specified in this chapter. If, after the hearing, the Plan Commission disapproves the plat, it shall make written findings that set forth its reasons and a decision denying primary approval. The Commission may also refer a plat back to the Technical Committee for review or study on a specific technical matter. Approval of a primary plat shall not constitute approval of a secondary plat. Rather, it shall be deemed an expression of approval to the layout submitted on primary plat as a guide to the preparation of the secondary plat, and shall permit the subdivider to proceed with construction or permanent improvements for which designs and specifications shall have been approved by the appropriate agencies. Approval of the primary plat will terminate 2 years after the date of approval unless further extended by the Commission upon written request of the subdivider and by filing 60 days prior to the expiration of the approval. Subsequent approval will be required of the engineering proposals pertaining to water supply, storm drainage, sewerage, and sewage disposal, grading and gradients, roadway widths, and the surfacing of streets by the County Board of Commissioners where concerned prior to the approval of the secondary plat by the Commission. In designing a street system, the subdivider shall be guided by the following principles. And I bring this up because we did have some questions about how the streets got laid out and where stubs went, things like that. So we look at adequate vehicular and pedestrian access provided to all parcels. Local or residential street systems shall be designed to minimize through traffic movement, but street connections into and from adjacent areas may be required. Local street patterns shall provide reasonable direct access to the primary circulation system. Local circulation systems and land development patterns shall not conflict with the efficiency of bordering arterial routes. Elements in the local circulation system should be designed with the least amount of interruptions possible in order to function effectively and safely. Traffic generators within residential areas shall be considered in the design of the circulation. Planning and construction of residential streets shall clearly relate to their local function. Local streets shall be designed to discourage excessive speeds. Pedestrian vehicular conflict points shall be minimized. The space devoted to street uses shall be minimized. The number of intersections shall be minimized. Local streets shall be related to topography. Additionally, rights of way for proposed streets shall be extended to the boundary lines of the proposed subdivision so that a connection can be made to all adjacent properties unless the extension is not feasible because of topography or other physical conditions, or unless, in the opinion of the Commission, the extension is not necessary or desirable for the coordination with existing streets or the most advantageous development of adjacent tracts. In any event, no subdivision shall be designed so as to create or perpetuate the landlocking of adjacent undeveloped land. So we definitely look at future uses, how the future land use map relates what current zoning is of surrounding parcels when we look at where these stub streets go. There is a maximum cul-de-sac street length of 1,300 feet. Additionally, there's a maximum block length of 1,200 feet. That is one thing that is a comment that I have on this particular subdivision. Though it's only 22 lots total, the lots are bigger than we're used to looking at, so the length added up quickly. Block length as submitted was exceeding that 1,200 feet at about 1,650. So that was my comment in my recommendation, which I changed up a little bit to be more flexible since my staff report was sent out. I wanted to point that out. So approve with the following conditions. It's my staff recommendation. No block shall exceed 1,200 linear feet, and no cul-de-sac street shall exceed 1,300 linear feet in length. Adjustments to the stub street locations will be required in order to accomplish this. Final stub street locations will be reviewed and approved by the technical committee prior to preparation of the secondary plat. Avoid stubbing street to south in a way that would imply removal of woods and wetland to south. The number of lots in this primary plat shall not exceed 22. So that's where we landed. Apart from the block length, it does comply with the design standards and also the zoning district requirements for R1 zoning. That's what I based my staff recommendation on. Do you have any questions? Oh, we did receive one letter of remonstrance. Steve Ellsbury represented RMK Farms to the north.
Yep.
Oh, I do have a question about the findings.
Yes.
And are we always going to write findings now, or
But, well, findings and a
Who's gonna write it?
recommendation.
the findings is a recommendation?
I have staff findings that I present in my staff report, and then I form a recommendation, which I present to you. So our staff report is essentially our findings.
Okay, thank you.
How close is the 9-star pipes for water and,
So they are
like,
at,
on the map, are they on 9?
yes, up at the school.
Oh, they're all the way up at the school?
Yes.
Okay, so they're not at that, okay, they haven't gone across the Junction Street yet.
We did have a chat with the 9-star staff, a virtual meeting, to discuss the availability of water and sewer. And it's, as you know, just a little far off at this
It'd be,
point.
it's about, looks like, if it's a mile, it'd be about $1 million, yeah. So, they're not. I was wondering if they were at 9 yet, right by it, because if they were, that'd be different. We should definitely have them pipe in. Thanks.
All right, any additional questions for the staff? All right, seeing none, I will have the petitioner come up.
Could you raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name, spell your last name for the record.
David Gilman, Gilman. My address is 211 South Ritter Avenue, Suite H, Indianapolis 46219.
10 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you, members of the board. I won't necessarily regurgitate what the staff has already presented, but I do want to kind of highlight some of the important parts that Kayla brought up in her presentation. We have 80 acres, 22 lots. They average from, the smallest lot is about 2 acres, the largest lot is 6 acres. The property is somewhat unusual. It's about a half mile east to west and about 1,000 to 1,300 feet north to south. So we will extend Country Mills Drive, and then as it heads south, it'll head back east. That is quite a distance, as I mentioned, about a half mile. So in order to accommodate the requirements of the length of the blocks, we have 2 or 3 different options. We can provide a stub street to the north, which will basically provide future access to about 36 acres of undeveloped property to the east and to the north of Country Mills Estates and Maxwell. We then have property to the south that we could provide 1 or 2 stub streets to. As Kayla mentioned, one of the stub streets might be in an area that is heavily wooded. We don't know the impact of maybe bringing a street through that woods, but then there is other options for a second stub street to the south. And I think what Kayla was trying to achieve with us is we have some flexibility to provide those stub streets either north and south, or 2 to the south, in order to break up that length of the block. My client just wants to make sure that we are very flexible. We're agreeable to whatever the outcome and the decision of this plan commission and/or the staff would make on which of these stub streets they think is most appropriate for our development. We do have several neighbors that I just briefly spoke with before the hearing. We discussed with them some of the requirements that my client has agreed to upgrade and beautify the entrance of Maxwell Country Mill Subdivision. And also, we would provide our own entrance sign where we leave Country Mill Estates into Advia Estates. We would provide a mound that would buffer the south side of Maxwell with the north side of Advia. That mound would be elevated and landscaped. Our common areas, our entrances would all be maintained, including our ponds, by an HOA. And then my client has also agreed to certain architectural standards for each home, minimum square footage on a 1-story, minimum square footage on outbuildings, and minimum amount of material. If you would like to know those details, I certainly would like to allow him time to answer those. We provided the staff, as part of our requirement for the meeting the preliminary plat submittal, a feasibility report. That feasibility report discusses our sanitary sewer system, which we are providing on-site septic systems that have been approved by the use of those systems has been approved by the Health Department, and we provided them our soil samples. The water, as mentioned, is not feasible to provide water service to this property or the area. We do have stormwater drainage plan that is very conventional. It's within the Ritchie watershed. It'll be basically street inlets to grass swell inlets to our detention holding ponds and eventually to the Ritchie Ditch. We think in our feasibility study, we also talk about our street construction. Again, our street meets public street standards. We will have a private gate for the last 6 lots that will have a knock box available to fire protection. We will have obviously proper erosion control measures throughout the development, throughout the construction. We hope that the Plan Commission would accept our feasibility report and our findings. We agree with the conditions that the staff has outlined and their findings and their recommendations to allow us a little bit of flexibility on the final decision on which stub streets we will construct. But again, we're going on record that we will construct whatever stub streets ends up being our requirement to meet the block standards and try to accommodate our neighbors. With that, I would answer questions that board members would have.
Does that have a county road that's run into those last 6 lots? That you talked about gating?
Yes, that would just be an extension of our public street into a private street that would service just the 6 private lots.
So you're planning on having
We'll have a public street. It'll be built to public standards, is that correct? Yes. It'll just have a private gate for some security and some exclusivity of those 6 lots.
You have to be sworn in. Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name and spell your last name.
Jeremiah Hamman, 4812 North 300 East, Greenfield, Indiana 46140. So that gated part is intended to be for my children. I have 6 children. And it connects to my property through the woods to the east. And I also own the 48 acres behind those 5 lots that back up to the 67 acres that is my estate off of 300. So the intention is to use the public street for egress, ingress, but to also be able to drive the 4-wheelers and golf carts back and forth between my children's lots and my lot. So I own an additional 108 acres to the east of that, those 5 lots.
5 lots are we on?
The gated 5 lots in the back.
Which ones are the gated?
Is that 11?
12, 13, 14, 15, and 16.
Oh, so you're going to put a gate way back there?
Yes.
That's weird.
We understand it would be our responsibility for snow removal, maintenance, all of that.
I was thinking you were gating the whole neighborhood.
No.
That would
No,
make
sir.
more sense. I mean, that's what you typically do, is gate neighborhoods. I would have to ask if Caleb, do we even have that in this county anywhere where a neighborhood is gated part of a neighborhood, but not all the neighborhood?
Actually dealing with this right now at Manship Estates. So I appreciate that we're talking about it here at the planning phase versus later on when we already have the houses built and things laid out differently. So this is the time to discuss it.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's,
Does the fire and police, have they gotten a chance to comment on this?
yes, at technical committee, Will Fredericks did not have anything additional to add, so.
No, I meant like no. The fire, up there, the fire chief in Green Township, I believe that's still Green Township.
Will Fredericks
Center.
represents all of the fire departments on our technical committee.
Okay.
And no,
Did he reach out to each of the Sheriff Burkhart and?
he does reach out to the fire chiefs.
Okay.
So nothing was found there. Knox box typically will handle it.
Yeah, I know how it works.
So the gated part would be done by county standards, but it'd be done by the builder and maintenance by the builder.
Correct. It would turn into a private drive beyond that gate.
So they'd have to do all their snow removal, do
Yeah.
all the road maintenance. It's a private road essentially,
Yes.
not a public road.
And is that documented in this plat somewhere?
It is listed as a private drive
Okay.
on the sketch, and I'm sure it is on the actual plat itself as well. There's a lot more to it. I've got a full-size copy here in case you need to look at it.
I mean, I'm a little confused. We're looking at it, but we're saying there's going to be a lot of changes, streets and lot sizes, and so I would
Block
think we'd be
sizes.
looking at what we're actually going to be there, not what may be there.
That is up to you guys to choose, if, what you're gonna do moving forward with this. And if you do need a bigger copy, like I said, I can pull this bigger one up, or I can pull a page up on my computer in particular. But one of the notes about this, let's see. Find it. Okay, approval of the primary plat shall not constitute approval of a secondary plat. Rather, it shall be deemed an expression of approval to the layout submitted on the primary plat as a guide to the preparation of the secondary plat, and shall permit the subdivider to proceed with construction or permanent improvements for which designs and specifications shall have been approved by the appropriate agencies.
Yeah, so one, I guess we could request or require that the secondary plat comes back to the Plan Commission.
Excuse me?
We could require that the secondary plat come back to the Plan Commission so that we could see it in its complete form.
You could.
I mean, we
Caleb-
used to see them, but
Where does the gate go? If it's lots, I think you said 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
It's right, it's on this, it is on the map.
yeah, you can see it on the plat. It's,
hard to see, but
if you
it's
look at the sheet 6, you can see it.
Sheet 6?
Yeah.
So she said 16. He named 12, 13, 14, 15, 16.
So it'll be on lots 15 and 11.
12, 13, 14, 15.
Is it different lot numbers?
Yeah, it should be in the process.
Where the gates at? 16 and 10.
Okay. Numbers he gave were 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, so different numbers on this one.
Yes, because of some.
Okay. Okay, 1, 2, 5. Okay.
And these commitments to entry sign, entry upgrade, the mound I see is here, and there were some covenants discussed on architectural standards, et cetera. That's not done, right? The covenants are not done?
The covenants are not completed.
Okay.
Correct.
All right, do we have any additional questions for the petitioner?
Yeah. Are there gonna be a separate HOA or an HOA clause for those backlots to maintain ponds or to maintain the gate?
Yeah, we will have an HOA that'll clearly identify what maintenance responsibilities they will have. And talking to my client, if it bothers the commission, the gate is not critical. But
I mean, it's just something we've never done before, so it's
Right.
something we probably might need to look into a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's something that we can consider or should consider. I don't,
the other thing is the only change you'll see on the plat, other than maybe some technical requirements, but as far as lot sizes, is just where we're going to put the stub streets. And my client is compliant and agreeable to put them wherever the staff feels they're appropriate. And I think we have a remonstrator that may have some input on the north stub. So those are the only changes. Outside of that, there's no lot changes other than a stub street may shift from one side of the street to the other. But yes, an HOA would be responsible for all the maintenance activity. And I did mention some of the improvements that some of our neighborhood friends will probably get up and talk about. And we'll make sure that those go on record, and we'll put them in our covenants to make sure that what we promised them is of record tonight and on our covenants as well.
I saw that there was a page by Kayla that had some questions, but is there, are these going to be dry ponds? Obviously, these can't be dry ponds, right?
I think maybe the smaller ones will be dry, but for the most part, the big one on the plan will be a wet pond.
Yeah, it's got to have water for the
Yeah.
fire, if there's a fire there.
And I assume the covenants will come with the secondary?
That's correct, yes. As staff mentioned, this is just to set a solid blueprint of what the plat's going to look like and the covenants when we finalize it.
Okay. All right. Any additional questions for the petitioner?
So I don't actually see an easement for utilities. Is it there? You have water and sewer on your lots, but electric and whatever.
Yeah,
else
typically those will run along the street, on each side of the street. I think they were trying to get away from having utilities on the back side of the lot, so they went everything along the street. We have enough area between the right-of-way and the front of the lots to provide the utilities, which would be electric, gas.
I also want to mention, the covenants were given to me by Dave Siegel, who's built in Greenfield for a
Can
long
you
time.
pull the microphone up a little closer?
Sorry.
I'm having a hard time.
The covenants were given to me by Dave Siegel, who's built in Greenfield extensively. He's going to be one of the primary builders of this neighborhood.
Okay.
So we're copying his covenants from some other residential areas that he has here in Greenfield.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, but we're also trying to figure out I'm also looking at the part you're making private, which is probably going to be different covenants, and I'm looking for the easements onto those properties.
The easements will still be provided along the streets. The only thing private in nature, the street will be built to public standards. The only thing private is the fact that my client would like to have a gate across his private lots for he and his family. That's the only private part about it. Everything else will be built to public standards. The utilities will be in place. The street pavement will be in place and protected by an easement as well.
The only reason I wanted it private is since we've been there for about 14 months, and we have trail cameras up in the woods, and we have people riding dirt bikes and hunting back there unapproved. We put up trail cams. We've caught at least a dozen people out there on the private land. So my goal was to get some separation from that, so they're not just, driving through the neighborhood and going back into woods, and then that adds liability to me if something happens, so on and so forth.
So would it be, so then, when you tell me that, would that mean that the gate's going to be more than just at the road? It'll be,
No, the gate.
It'll just be at the road,
The
right?
gate will be at the road, and then there'll be fencing.
oh, there'll be
around
fencing?
it. Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
that's what I was wanting to know.
Okay. All right.
When I was talking about the easement, I'm just talking about it. I didn't find it in writing on here. I understand that you run along the side of the street, but I'm used to actually seeing it written out. So that's why I brought it up.
Do you have all the pages of the plat? 'Cause it should be on the utility plan sheet. And then the actual dedication of those easements would be done on the final plat. Should be marked D, U, and E, drainage and utility easement.
Oh, yeah, it's 25 foot range. It's on, you can see it on 5 and 6, Byron.
Yeah, it's identified as a 25-foot D, U, and E.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I figured it was there because Mike's pretty good at all this stuff.
Thank you.
All right. Any additional questions for the petitioner? All right. That's good. Thank you. Do we have anybody that wants to speak in opposition this evening? Have a show of hands. We have a bunch of people. Just one? Okay. We have two. Give you each 5 minutes then.
Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your name, spell your last
My name is Steve Ellsbury, E-L-S-B-U-R-Y. Play with your computer here?
Yeah.
Before we get started. Good evening. My name is Steve Ellsbury. I'm an attorney here in Greenfield with an office at 8 West Main Street. I'm here this evening on behalf of RMK Farms LLC. I don't know if you can see the parcel that is the gun shape up there on the map. That's my client. When I was a young attorney, I was pulled aside by a prominent zoning attorney, and he told me if I was going to do planning and zoning, I should never be opposed to development. So I want to make it clear tonight, we are not opposed to this project. Our concern is for where the North Stub Road goes. That is our main concern. I'm going to play with Kayla's slideshow here. I know she had it because she read it. So, under subsection 155.072D of the Hancock County Subdivision Control Ordinance, streets are to extend to boundary lines unless, in the opinion of the commission, which is you guys, the extension is not necessary or desirable for coordination of streets or the most advantageous development of adjacent tracts. That's the part I want to focus on tonight. The RMK portion of the property was the remaining part of the existing Country Mills. So that was supposed to be developed as part of Country Mills. As a result, it currently has 3 streets already stubbed into it. The one that I'd like to point out to you is the southernmost there. It is called, what's it called? Water Wheel Drive. It's 200 feet north of the proposed subdivision here tonight. So our concern is that if the road stub to the north is put in where it's located, the RMK partial is very small right there. It's narrow. So what we are doing is creating an intersection on my client's parcel, which will render it undevelopable unless that sewer, Mr. Wooldridge, comes in there because we've got to have 2-acre lots. So we're basically making a road to nowhere because we can't develop that property because now we have 2 roads and we can't put any houses in there. So that's our main concern. I appreciate Mr. Gilman saying he's willing to work with us. I've not had any conversations with the developer. I reached out to Mike Gibson's office late Friday. He was out of town. He said he'd try to put me in touch, but we were not able to touch base. The other concern that we have on that subsection is that it says that all roads shall extend, except for the main road they've got does not extend to the boundary to the east. It ends in a cul-de-sac. So if we're going to have that consideration of a cul-de-sac there, we would appreciate a cul-de-sac not infringing on our property because it's going to devalue our property, not be able to make it developable. There's no need for connectivity there because we have 2 accesses off of 500 North. I grew up off of 500 North, very familiar with this area. Plus we have already 3 stub roads out of Country Mill. So I hope that makes sense. I was in the office Friday. According to Dawn, at that point in time, mutual aid had made no comments as far as where the roads go, what it looks like. There were no comments. So I'm not sure how the fire and everybody has signed off because at that point in time, mutual aid had not responded. My ability to give you anything in writing was noon Friday, and there was nothing in the file for me to respond to. So if County Highway is fine with one way in and out, that's great with us. Don't put a road into our property that's going to devalue my client's property. That's our position.
All right, so I got questions.
Sure.
All right, Mr. Ellsbury, so it sounds like you have, it looks like you have 2 choices, and you can take out that side road between 16 and 17 lot, which I don't know if you'd see.
I can't see, Mr. Woodard. Let me see if I can play with 17 and 18.
Next one.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that one.
16 and 17.
So you want that side road taken out as one option?
If you look to the north there, there's already a road that runs east to west. So if you extend that road north into my client's property, you're going to have a minimum of 2 acres if you're going to put it on septic. And so you're not going to be able to build any houses there, so it's going to be a road to nowhere. So So there's no need to have connectivity if it's never going to be able to be developed because of where the location of the road is.
Okay.
And then when I talked to Mike Gibson, he said this is one point where connectivity is bad because we don't need the connectivity. These 22 houses are just fine with the highway in and out there. If the property that my client owns is going to be developed in the future, it has plenty of in and outs. There's no need to try to take these 22 lots in and out of my client's property.
The other option that I thought of is, what if the road was between 15 and 16 before the gate?
That would,
It would put at the end of it would still put a T at the end.
that's why I wish Mike Gibson were here, because I'm not a surveyor, because it's still going to have to run and then turn back to connect to that existing water wheel road that's there, would be my point, or my thought.
Well, I
why
would
they're
think Water
stuck.
Wheel would just come and tee into it.
Tee
And
into
then
it.
would keep going to Mill Stream and tee into that.
I think there's probably an opportunity for us to sit down with the petitioner and work that out. I
Okay.
just don't know if we're going to be able to do it tonight.
Okay.
I know you guys have a short board anyway, so that was going to be part of what I suggested is maybe give us a month to work together. Like I say, Mr. Gibson's out of town. I wasn't able to get in touch
Well,
with him.
we would, and then see who would, I don't know, we'd probably need to check with some of the tech committee to see if we took that sub road off, that'd be fine. Because we'd probably want their opinion on that too.
We talked about that Friday morning, didn't we, Dawn, before I submitted my email. And so really have no objection to, I think it's going to be a great project, just concerned where that road's going to go and how it's going to impact my client's property, because there's plenty of access to my client's property currently. So
All right.
don't want to do anything that would detrimentally impact my client's property. And it was interesting, Mr. Holden, I did go back and look. I think you are supposed to develop findings. Even if you approve this primary plat, I think you're supposed to adopt findings. I've done this since 2009, and I've never really been involved in this process. It's always left it up to the surveyors. But when I went back and looked, that's what your rules actually say, is you're going to adopt findings here, is that you meet check X, Y, and Z. So interesting when you actually go and look
Marion
at it.
County, I've watched them have findings on the BZA all the time, but I think there's reasons why we haven't done it necessarily in the past.
Happy to answer any other questions. If not, I'll sit down and let this gentleman talk to you. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. All right. We had one additional person that wanted to speak. Yep, going up. How much time do we have left?
Let's see, you had 5 minutes, but you still have a minute and a half,
Yeah.
so 6.5 minutes. Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name, spell your last
My
name.
name is Ray Haggard. I own the property on 4763 North State Road 9, which would be in Maxwell Heights, which is a couple lots beyond to the north of the Country Mill Street, where that addition's
Could
at.
you spell your last name for us, please, for the record?
I'm sorry, Haggard, Haggard.
Okay,
First
thank you.
name Ray.
Thank you.
Go right ahead.
My concern is that with my property on the north, which I guess I was going to start out by thinking, I don't have a problem with a person wanting to develop their property. I understand that, and I appreciate you guys considering the adverse effects it might be causing other people in that area, and that whole area in there seems to flood very easily from Cranberry Estates all the way up, and my property has a drain, 8-inch riser that comes up in the northwest corner. And when we get heavy rain, there'll be 6 inches of water standing on top of my septic system, and it takes a good long time before it will even start to drain. And my concern is of what additional water is going to be pushed to that area. And then it seems odd to me, an addition, it sounds like a premium addition going to be going through a country mill to get to it, and it sounds like this seems to be step one of other steps. So my overall concern is the water in that area, and it's going to be on a well and septic, but I don't know what it's going to affect me. My house, the sub pump will push the water out. The neighbor to the south, his sub pump will run continuously for days because it floods out his crawl space. So that was my main concern. I want to make sure that it's being considered. And I know my concern when I first got this letter, I get a cover letter, page 4 and 12 through 16. I understand that you're here to represent me, but I'm sure glad I came because I don't know by this what any of this was about. So that is my beef and concern. So
Okay.
I appreciate your consideration of that.
You have any questions for him? No? All right, thanks. All right, so we have, you have a 5-minute rebuttal period, Mr. Gillen.
Thank you. To address the requirements of the preliminary plat, I believe, going through the ordinance, that we've met those requirements. The one outstanding issue that I think you've heard here tonight is where those stub streets should ultimately end up. Again, I'd like to stress that we will be agreeable to whatever is negotiated, either with the adjoiner or with the staff, or a combination of both. I think the important thing is that we try to provide that connectivity that is the intent of the subdivision control ordinance. And so with that, I think the staff's put it in one of their conditions that we agree to negotiate that as we go into the final plat process. The other thing, as far as drainage is concerned with this gentleman and his concerns, part of the requirement is that we take into account the entire watershed of the Ritchie legal drain. And if water happens to be coming on our property from other properties, we have to take that water flow into consideration. And the practice generally is, if water is in more of a structured environment with ponds, pipes, and inlets, it actually is in a better management system and improves the situation for surrounding properties than if it just sheet flows off of farm fields that may or may not be protected with erosion control or grass to slow the watershed down or to absorb the rain waterfall. Again, we would like to have this board grant us a preliminary plat approval subject to the conditions that the staff has outlined in the report. We have on record certain items that we'll put in our commitments and covenants to solidify our conversations with our neighbors as far as landscaping, mounting, entrances, HOAs, ponds, and maintenance of the gate in the private part of the street that my client desires. And with that, we're here to answer additional questions that this board may have of us.
Any more questions? No? All right.
I don't have any questions, but I think if the stub street changes or anything, I think it should have a sign off by the street commissioner. Not just whatever agreement in the drawing. He's already signed off on what he's looking at, but if there's a major change in a street, I think he should sign off on it.
Yeah, I'm actually happy to bring this back to the technical committee. And that way, the highway department will get a chance to look at it and comment.
Okay, thank you.
We can also definitely offer a place for the petitioner to sit down with surrounding property owners to make sure that the surrounding layout is okay.
Thank you.
All right, any more questions? All right, so what we have here, we can look to approve, deny, continue. If we want to approve, we can approve with some conditions, and some of the conditions were obviously the staff conditions. And then we also heard discussion on an entry upgrade, an entry sign, some mounding covenants, and some discussion on locations of the stub street, and then this all going back to the tech committee prior to secondary plat. And we could also require that secondary plat comes back to this board if you wanted to see it again. So those would be our options. We could also continue if you would like to see a more complete version of a primary plat.
I mean, we did have a request that, from the, to continue.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my question would be is should the tech committee or somebody weigh in if we're considering either eliminating it or moving it slightly one lot over? Yeah, I mean, that'd be,
Yeah, that
besides
would,
continuing it, could it go to tech committee at the same time while we're continuing it, then it comes back to see if they have an issue with that?
yeah, I think ultimately, Kayla, it would be going to tech committee prior to secondary plat, right? So a process could be that we could require it to go back to tech committee and that secondary plat come back to this board. And then that would kind of complete that circle, I think.
Yes, it can, so typically, if this was just a straightforward approval this evening, this would, Mike Gibson would prepare the secondary plat, and it would go to the technical committee. All comments would be addressed, and then I would administratively approve it. It would not come back to this board. That's the typical process. This evening, since there are some questions about Stubb Street location, we're already committing to get it right back on the technical committee agenda and make sure that that primary plat is feasible with the highway department.
Okay.
So that's what's part of our condition tonight.
So a primary plat revision would go back to the tech committee.
Yes, and so that's whether or not you approve it or continue it, either way, it could go back to the technical committee. So you could say approve with staff conditions that it go back to technical committee to make sure those Stubb Street locations are technically correct. Or you could say continue this, we want to see where those Stubb Street locations are and bring it back next month. And it'll still go back to tech, so.
It'd still go back to tech before it came back to us?
Yes,
Okay, that was what I was wondering.
Yeah, and either way, I mean, I guess the question would be, do you want to see a primary plat again? Or do you want to see a secondary plat? Or do you just trust the whole process?
I would want to do a primary plat again and then not have to do a secondary plat. I mean, I want to get it done right the first time and everybody's happy and everybody walks out and they're feeling good.
Now, I'm just going to say, I mean, she's correct what it normally is now, but when it was approved for the planner to sign off on the secondary plat, it was already brought up that at any time, this board could request it to come to us, is why we're saying this.
Yeah, so in order to get it back to us, we could either require that the secondary come here, which is what I was proposing, or we could just request to see a new primary, like Scott had mentioned, and then let it follow that old process, that regular process, and the secondary be approved in the office.
I agree with Scott.
So that would be a continue then for a new primary.
revised.
A revised primary comes back to this board.
I think we should at least continue to next month.
All right. We'll need a motion. We're all good for that.
Motion to continue this to next month, that it would go back to the tech committee in between.
Okay.
And so that, for the sole purpose of determining side street, Stubb Street, or whatever you want to call it.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to continue the primary plat for the May meeting with the primary purpose of it going back to tech committee to work out the Stubb Street locations. I'll have Don call the roll on that.
Mr. Hester?
Yes.
Holden?
Yes.
Mr. Long?
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Bout?
Yes.
Okay, 5 approved. We will see you guys next month. Thank you for all the information. Okay, that moves us to item number 2, Citrus Harbor LLC.
Where are we at?
Item number 2.
.400 West.
Ready to go?
Give them just a second here. We need to make a new rule that if you come, you're here to stay.
Get to stay. No, you're listening.
I don't want to rush you, but if you're leaving, please make your way out. And close the door behind you, please. Thanks, Steve. All right, we can go ahead.
All right. Our second item tonight is a rezone. This is the rezone of Citrus Harbor LLC, located at 3659 North 400 West, from agriculture to industrial general. As you can see, this is located just north of where the warehouses are really clustered along 300 North at County Road 400 West. The intended use is an equipment sales and rental facility.
And that's,
So the 6.9 acre site, it's outlined in blue, and it is due east of the airport property.
so just south of 400 North?
Correct. Here's the current zoning map. You can see how agricultural zoning still dips around into this area, how IBP zoning, the purple, comes up and meets the institutional zoning, that gray color that covers the airport property.
Where's the closest IG zoning? Because it looks like you're just putting IG in the middle of 3 different zones. No, the IG gray is institutional.
Yes. Let me look.
Institutional general, it's like this is, it looks like we're doing all IBP in this area. This is an IG request. That's really my concern with this.
So our future land use map does not differentiate between industrial. It does have a separate color for business park, which is a blue color, but it does not differentiate in the industrial districts, light versus heavy. In our zoning code, it does talk about inside versus outside industrial uses. Industrial light is typically reserved for inside uses. General is intended for outdoor industrial uses. So in this case, large-scale equipment rental would be an outdoor lot area, and that is why industrial general was requested by the petitioner, because it seemed more accurate with the intended end use.
But it really makes a lot of things that could be there besides that. A big list. There it is. It was hard to see on here.
Okay, so the industrial general is the dark blue color. So you'll see we've got a little piece over here. That's stone land, actually. That'll go back to ag.
That's going back to, yes.
So we won't look at that. But then we look over in the industrial park area, and we have some warehouse areas that are zoned IG. I'll zoom in here so we can see what that difference is. Yeah, so IG is the dark blue, IL is lighter blue. And once again, that has to do with the lists that are involved there, and the intended purpose of those zoning districts is for IL to be inside, so probably a lot of our warehouses are really IL, and IG being heavier, more intensive outdoor uses. And then IBP, of course, is more business than industrial, really.
But the IBP would work with a special exception, right?
I would have to double check now, but I'm pretty sure that is true. Oh, here it is. Yes, it is a special exception in Ag, CN, CC, CR, IBP. It is also permitted in IL or IG, but once again, it would not really meet by what they're doing. If it was all indoors, it would meet the IL zoning district, but it's not. So that's why we're in IG. All right.
And, well, I guess maybe it's just a strategy, but, I mean, this project could have gone to the BZA without a rezone for a special exception in A, right?
That's
we
correct.
Could have done that, so.
So long-term, if we look at the future land use map, this is an area that is shown as industrial. That's that gray area. And like I said, it doesn't really differentiate between what level of industrial. It does have a different color for manufacturing versus industrial. And then business park, like I said, is a separate color, that light cyan blue. Oh, sorry, I didn't make it into presentation mode. I did, and actually this was a point I needed to make, Byron, so thank you for bringing it up. So the IG zoning district purpose intended to provide locations for general industrial manufacturing, production, assembly, warehousing, research and development facilities, and similar land uses, and that is exactly the same over in IL to that point. Then it goes into, this district is intended to accommodate a variety of industrial uses in locations and under conditions that should minimize land use districts. This district should be used to support industrial retention and expansion in Hancock County. Over on the IL district, rather than going into that, it says, this district is intended to accommodate only industrial uses that are completely contained within structures and do not involve the outdoor storage of materials or release potential environmental pollutants. This district should be used to support industrial retention and expansion in Hancock County. So that's the difference between these two zoning districts. Inside is light, outside is general. I did include the lot standards. It does meet the lot standards. Then, like you said, Byron, we get into the uses. I should also point that this is in the airport overlay district. That is going to really put a limit on what goes in any zoning district at this location because it's in the airport overlay. That prohibits certain uses, anything explosive, anything over 50 feet is going to get looked at real hard. So that really limits stuff too. But these are all the permitted primary uses in the IG district. And yeah, it's all the big heavy ones. So I will go forward a little bit more. There's also a whole bunch of special exception primary uses. These are all the really scary ones that would have to go to the BZA. So if anything like this tried to happen on this lot, it's not permitted by right at all. It has to go to the BZA. So the worst case scenario stuff, right? The sanitary landfills, the junk scrap metal yards. I'm seeing what else here. A waste incinerator, anything like that would have to go to the BZA. Okay, this is the airport overlay restrictions. So it has, and I just kind of outlined it. Basically, if it's an airport overlay and it looks even close to anything that is listed here or anything tall or smoky or anything like that, I get in touch with the airport right away. I let the person know who's applying that, hey, we need to get in touch with the airport and I'm not permitting anything until you provide me some sort of an approval from the FAA or the Indianapolis Regional Airport or whatever the power may be that goes over this. So there's the height restrictions. There's also use restrictions. And generally, the use restriction is that no use is allowed that creates electrical or radar interference with radio communication or makes it difficult for flyers to distinguish between airport lights and others. Or otherwise impair visibility. There's also a list of prohibited uses, generally large population things like auditoriums, amphitheaters, daycare facilities, concert halls, hospitals, major residential plats, and major commercial or industrial plats with a residential component. So a lot of things that would mean, hey, if an airplane crashed into this, we're talking about major population loss. Those things are not allowed in the airport overlay. Anyway, I'll move on past the doom and gloom of the airport overlay district. I would also point out that any uses involving the sale, storage, manufacture, and/or distribution of gasoline, propane, or other flammable, toxic, explosive, radioactive, biohazardous materials in a way that would jeopardize the health of airport occupants, bystanders, or emergency personnel is also prohibited. And then it even has another little bit where it says any use is not expressly identified above. Basically, it just wants to make sure that anything that could be potentially dangerous goes to the airport for approval. So I'll just leave it at that. And then it adds some special exception uses as well. Okay. Here is the site as it is planned. This is currently a residential site. So there is a house. It is going to be converted to office. That's something we commonly deal with in the Planning and Building Department. The Building Department has a whole process they go through for change of use to get a house changed over to non-residential use. They have kind of a special process that they have to go through with the state and everything. So there is paved parking shown, as well as a couple. So the house is in the front. There's some detention planned. And then there's also 2 storage buildings along the southern border in the back, and a large yard. So there are 3 paths, and I just realized I didn't include a picture of the house, but it's pretty typical white farmhouse. So 3 paths moving forward: favorable recommendation, no recommendation, or an unfavorable recommendation. And this would go to the Board of Commissioners. The staff recommendation is favorable. This is very much in line with our comprehensive plan. So you are certainly allowed to add conditions to my approval, limit uses, anything like that. And I'll turn it over to the petitioner here next. So following the rezone, Citrus Harbor will file a change of use ILP application, which may be reviewed by the technical committee either formally or informally as part of a permit review. Once the permit is approved, and actually I talked to Chad about this, Chad Kogenauer, the surveyor, and we discussed that this would go back at the point at which those buildings are applied for. Typically that's the thing that cues, we need to see this at tech committee. It probably needs a drainage review, things like that, or stone yards over 3 acres in size. Okay. Once the permit is approved, construction activities may occur, remodeling the house from residential to office use, installing large equipment lot and commercial drive, and building the storage buildings according to the plan. So the criteria we consider: is this in keeping with the comprehensive plan? Yes. Is this in keeping with the current conditions and character of the current structure and uses in the area? We've got warehouses just to the south of here, so I would say yes. Is this the most desirable use for which the land is adapted? I always find this one a really tricky question, like ever. You know, it's a strange question, but it is a lot that this use works with it with limited changes. So I would say for now, right now today, this works. What impact on property values across the county would this have? Well, not negative. I would say this is probably a positive. We do have RN Thompson just to the east of this that's doing a fairly similar thing. Is this responsible growth and development? I would say yes. This is not a spot rezone out in the middle of nowhere. This is definitely pretty close to other industrial uses and an expanding airport. So I would say for those reasons, my staff recommendation was favorable. All right, I will turn it over to the petitioner, Kevin Buchheit. How do you say that? You'll have to say it.
Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your name.
My name is Kevin Buchheit, Buchheit, and Kayla and Don both have my contact information if you need it. I'm a land use planner with the law firm Krieg DeVault. Their office is in Carmel. I don't know that I can add a whole lot more to the very extensive presentation that Kayla has made. We looked at the various zoning districts that were available to us and decided this is the one that probably fit the proposed use the best in an area where the comp plan policy is for industrial development. You've been very lucky in getting a lot of IBP zoning for much larger parcels, but this parcel is about just under 7 acres. And I think that the IBP zoning district works a little bit better with larger parcels where you can have more uses and more control on how the property develops. The idea behind the proposed use is that there is a lot of development going on in that area right now, and the product that would be available at this location would be the heavy equipment that might be useful in developing that other real estate. It may not be a forever home for this use, and I dare say that if somebody with really deep pockets came along and offered the petitioner an opportunity to retire with the value of their land so they could assemble it with other property, that would be considered. But the overall built development that is proposed here is not a whole lot of ground cover that is going to be such an investment and substantial construction on the property that it would preclude future redevelopment of the site. More along the lines of the large warehousing and distribution and other uses that you've been lucky enough to attract into this area in the Mount Comfort corridor. Again, the findings that Kayla has put before you, I agree with everything that she's stated there. This is a use that is generally anticipated by the comprehensive plan for industrial uses in this area. The types of uses that are permitted in that district, I think, would be limited to what could actually, the 7 acre parcel could actually accommodate. Some of those are not going to fit on 7 acres. I hadn't really given any consideration to types of uses that might step away from this under the forms of a commitment. But if you have ideas or thoughts about ones that you might want to see precluded from the site, we can consider that tonight and possibly move on with you. I will. Okay. Most everything I would say would be somewhat of a duplication of what Kayla has already presented, and it's really in the statement of intent. It pulls forth the comp plan policies and the zoning ordinance sections with references to page numbers and sections as well for your consideration. I pulled in a couple of maps there as well. Everything that Kayla so deftly handled in her presentation. With that, I will halt my presentation and see if you have any comments or questions.
400 is really becoming automobile traffic north and south. I'm trying to figure out if you got heavy equipment leaving there, where is it going to go? What direction? No.
This shows the road classifications in the thoroughfare plan. Red is major arterial and widening foreseen. Green, I believe, is a major collector, so kind of like the next classification down from arterial.
If I had to guess on traffic direction pulling out of the lot, it would probably go south because that's the area that seems to be developing more right now, but it could, you know, as things build in, well, directly north is airport property, so that there's nothing going to happen there. But with that being an arterial, there would be opportunity to go there. The road cross section is more of a country cross-section, I would say at this point, but over time, that too is going to change, and I think that the right-of-way out there, are we required?
Up to Highway Department.
The Highway Department will make the determination as to whether additional right-of-way is needed out there, and at that point, that would be part of the dedication with the project.
Okay, any additional questions? All right. No questions, we'll move on to the remonstrators if there are any. Do we have anybody here that wants to speak in opposition to this project? All right, seeing none, any discussion? All right, notice.
Currently, we have the building to the south of 300 there is sitting empty. The one on the corner there, probably at 300, is sitting empty, right? Those big buildings?
So the building, where's this, I believe, is the Polar. Isn't that a cold storage? And then this gets into the Amazon area.
So this is just, right now, the warehousing and everything, this just kind of jumps just a little bit past to the north. So just keeping that in mind.
I mean, the comment about it not precluding future development because it's sort of a light amount of development on a 7-acre parcel made some sense, but it also sort of maybe to reinforce in my mind that it could have been a special exception in the ag zone without any kind of a rezone required here. Although it would have been a step to the BZA, I suppose.
For something?
Yeah, it would be we'd be looking for a motion for a favorable, unfavorable, no recommendation, or continue.
All right, I'll make a motion for a favorable recommendation for this to be rezoned to IG with the sole purpose for equipment sales and rental.
I second it.
All right, it's been moved and seconded for the favorable recommendation to the rezone, for the rezone to IG, and specifically for the sole purpose of equipment sales and rental.
Can the petitioner speak?
You okay with the question against your, yeah, okay, yeah, we can.
Kevin Buckhead again for the record. I just wanted to make sure that I understood the purpose behind your statement, and you're limiting it to this specific use. The petitioner is okay with that.
Okay. Okay. All right. So the motion has been.
I think, can we hang on just a minute? If it's for the sole purpose, if that's the condition, it should probably be in the form of a condition. You only want to limit it to that purpose? Because when it comes to the commissioners, it's going to be a favorable recommendation. If you didn't include conditions, that sole purpose part will not be included unless you make it a condition.
All right.
Make sense?
We'll make it a condition that the sole purpose is for equipment sales and rental.
Okay, so you're going to amend your motion as a condition, and then who seconded it?
I did.
And
I'll second
are you okay
that.
with that?
Let's do
Okay.
that.
All right.
All right, thank you.
So the motion that we have that has been seconded and amended is a favorable recommendation to the commissioners with the condition that it is for the sole purpose of equipment sales and rental.
Yes.
Okay. Yep. Okay, Dawn, when you're ready, you can call the roll.
Mr. Hester,
Yes.
Mr. Hall,
Yes.
Mr. Long,
Yes.
Holdridge.
Yes.
Mr. Bout.
Yes.
All right, approved. All right, thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Okay,
If
that,
they change at a later date to any other kind of condition, they'll have to come back to this board and to the commissioners?
yeah.
Thank you. That's what I thought.
Okay, that concludes our hearing items. We'll move on to other business, and item number 1 is our UDO update.
You have the latest and greatest from HWC.
Oh, thanks.
It is a estimated timeline of our project.
I did it.
With that is to
That's all. Thank you.
ensure that the commissioners and the council have communicated about where funding is coming from. So I will continue to work with both of those teams on that. And also to establish who wants to be included on meetings. Right now, where I'm at with this is scheduling a kickoff meeting to go over this schedule and things like that.
I think Janine probably wanted to be involved, right?
Yes.
And you can always copy me.
She couldn't be there this,
Right. Yeah. You can always copy me. Do you want to be copied, Scott, Wendell? Yeah, me and Scott, I guess, and Janine.
Rhonda, do you want to be copied on this?
Sure.
Is that okay with the Plan Commission?
yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
In the loop of what's going on, right?
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
All right, we'll move on. Item number 2 is our data center committee. A small group of us met and discussed this last week to be prepared to help Kayla put together a recommendation. I think we're okay to proceed with this with only 5 members here this evening. You good to proceed with this? I don't want to drag this one out if not at all possible. So.
If we're gonna drag this out, then we probably should do a board for
Yeah.
3 months,
So we can see
speed this up.
we can see if the 5 of us can agree on this evening then. And I know that Renee has looked at it, Janine has looked at it. I don't know about Derek and Lacey, but so. Did you want to present or you want me to talk through it? You can talk through it. I'll talk through it. Okay, I'm not sure that I'm quite ready, but I'll take a crack at it. So at our last meeting, we talked about putting together a committee of people, people in the community, along with some elected folks and some appointed folks like ourselves to study the impacts and what data centers might mean in our community and how they would fit with our comprehensive plan, our economic development and transportation, et cetera. At our last meeting, we landed per our minutes to a 11-member committee, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9,
11
10.
plus 2.
11 plus 2. And the reason that we went 11 plus 2 was that we felt like some of the appointed people, if chosen per this recommendation, kind of do some double duty with representing both BZA, Plan Commission, and commissioners, Plan Commission, Council, Plan Commission, all that stuff. So that allowed us to bring in an additional 2 community members, what we were considering citizen members. We looked at sort of the categories of these members to have somebody representing ag and industry, somebody representing our BZA, a couple of 4 citizen members, and then a member from the commissioners and a member from the county council. Those 2 members we would consider non-voting members, so that is what allowed us also with that plus 2 to bring in 2 additional community members into our 11-member committee. So the county commissioner and the county council person would be there offering some suggestions, guidance, but would not actually participate in a vote for a recommendation that would come to this body. We then had economic development representative, what we are calling an industrial representative, and that would be somebody sort of in the industry, I suppose. 2 members from the Planning Commission, and then somebody that has some utility background representing utilities in our community. We reached out to the community and asked for people to submit letters should they be interested in serving in this committee, and we had a pretty good turnout. I think we had, how many? 20? 25 letters. From that, we then sent out a crafted application that covered some of our standard, some of the standard county requirements for people to serve on committees and boards, which would basically document for transparency any past convictions, prior convictions, get some references, professional experience and things like that. And with that application, I believe we then had 15 that came back of those 25. So from that, we had a group of us that met, Scott, myself, Janine, Kayla was on the meeting, Rhonda was in the meeting. Who am I missing? That was all of us, I think. That then discussed all of those people. And what you have in front of you here is what that group of people arrived at. And we picked people that we thought fit in. And again, what I mentioned sort of did some double duty. There were some people that represented some different areas of our community. And we also were careful about trying to make sure that we had a good cross-section of our townships represented as well. And that was also not just the community members, but the elected folks and the Plan Commission and BZA members also. So try to get a cross-section through there. All of those applications were sent to everybody here in email. So hopefully you took a look at that, and you can look at these names and see if that falls in line with what you thought was a good selection for the committee. So do we have any discussion on what you see here in front of you? And I can go through and talk about each one of these and why we selected what we selected.
Looks like you did an excellent job to me.
Okay. All right. Any additional comment? He thought we did an excellent job.
Oh.
Okay. So for the record, I will step through.
Maybe we should repeat that again. What did he say? No, I'm just kidding.
Byron Holden said that we did an excellent job for the record.
Is that in the minutes?
So what you have in your packet are our tentative picks. And this isn't any like super definitive order. For the agriculture representative, we had a application from an individual named Kylie Blaylock from Jackson Township. Kylie is a farmer involved as a member of the public in the Henry County Data Center matter, was also involved with Purdue Extension, has a degree in reverse logistics, waste management, and has an interest in environmental health, a people's first perspective. So we thought that individual covered a lot of bases for us. She also has a history of being a respectful participant, both in favor of projects and in respectful remonstrance. For the BZA member, Lacey Willard offered her name to represent the BZA. She is also a Plan Commission member and a practicing attorney. She represents Buck Creek Township. We have 4 citizen members. Our first citizen member that we looked at was Derek Adams, who resides in Greenfield. He's a environmental health specialist with Hancock County. He's an employee of the county. He has a degree from Butler University, works a lot with environmental pollutant pollutants and has knowledge of especially in local pollutants, and of course is our county's environmental health specialist. A citizen member, we had an applicant from a lady named Melissa Jackson who lives in Greenfield. She works as a utility and right-of-way coordinator with BF&S Engineering. She does coordination of infrastructure considerations, utility impacts, and has a lot of experience, we felt, in regulatory compliance. Citizen member Paul Overhauser resides in Buck Creek Township. Paul's an attorney with mediation experience and has a lot of experience in the IT industry. Our fourth citizen member recommendation is Julie Saddam, who resides in Buck Creek Township. She is retired but spent her entire career working in IT, working in data centers. She is also a very active citizen member that shows up here quite a bit and is a respectful commenter on a lot of projects that we have. The commissioner that came forward to serve as a non-voting member would be Janine Gray, who is also the commissioner's representative on this body, county commissioner, and of course she lives in Shirley and has a very long history serving the county. The county council offered Mr. Clark Smith, who resides in Center Township. He was officially appointed by the council on April 8th. Clark also has a very extensive background in agriculture and is a very active member in the ag community as well. Economic development, Mary Zerbach met those requirements, we felt. She resides in Green Township. She is a member of the RDC and is a founder of a company, works in commercial real estate and construction consulting. So we felt that she has some experience there that could offer to the committee. To represent the industrial area, to just kind of have some boots on the ground type knowledge, the applicant that was recommended here is Samuel Gallion, who spoke at our meeting, I think last month, resides in Fortville, Indiana, and from his resume and application indicates that he works, builds, and maintains in data centers as a union electrician. So we felt like that was going to be some very good knowledge from sort of the boots on the ground type activity of those types of facilities. The two Plan Commission members that were suggested, Renee Oldham and then myself, Mike Long. Renee lives in McCourtsville. I'm from Sugar Creek Township. And of course, Renee represents the school corporation, so she would be doing some double duty there as far as representing the superintendents and any of their concerns with these types of developments. And then I also serve as the BZA president as well. So we have a couple of members of the BZA there. Utilities is our last slot, and we liked Philip Hayes from Jackson Township. He is on the 9-Star board and is a former Wabash Valley Power Board member. He's a retired engineer, has a lot of background in I guess, some work with Raytheon and its predecessors. So should have some good utility knowledge there that he could bring to the board. So those are our 11 plus 2 members. So what we would like to do, I believe that we talked about this board meeting over the course of the next 3 months. Is that right? 4 times or 3 times? 4 times? 4 times. We think that the format for this would be, the first meeting will probably be short. That meeting will be just sort of setting our pillars of discussion, sort of what we want to accomplish through definitions and recommendations and things that we think that we want to voice towards this committee. We talked about trying to round up some experts, some various podcasts that we've all come across that these members could possibly look at. These would be public meetings, and we would probably be looking at some public comment times during these meetings as well. They'll likely be evening meetings, and we would try to have them each on not the same day of the week, so that we can make sure that if any of these members were not able to attend, we could, if they have some standing obligations for weekly meetings outside of this, that we should be able to get everybody to attend there, which was also another reason for trying to get these +2 citizen members in here to make sure that we have a full committee at each of these meetings. So with that, what this board needs to do this evening is discuss this. If you wanted to trade anybody out of this and with some discussion, or we can have a motion to approve this data center committee as presented, or it could be approved as presented with any changes that you guys would like to discuss this evening.
You plan on having the meetings here in this room?
I believe so. We haven't actually discussed where they would be. Maybe we did talk about that, where we would, I assume they'd be here, but yeah. They'll be advertised.
I'm just thinking about the calendar.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point.
Could I ask that we consider the resolution first to establish the committee?
I'm sorry. Yes,
Okay.
I'm sorry. We do have to do this by resolution. I apologize. I neglected to do that. So Rhonda has prepared a resolution, and it's she can go over that, and it has all of the binding pieces of this committee and its responsibilities.
So I think this is probably the first resolution for the Plan Commission this year. So in numbering that, Kayla, are you okay if I give this the number 2026-1? Unless you have another way of numbering.
Okay.
Okay. So this is resolution number 2026-1, a resolution of the Hancock County Area Plan Commission establishing an advisory committee of citizens to study the subject of data center siting. Would you like me to read this by title only, or would you like me to read the full resolution? It's not terribly long.
Motion to read by title.
Okay.
Do you have a second? Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded to read by title only. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed, same sign. Maybe you can give a summary.
Okay, so summarizing that there are 3 tasks that are in accordance with the state statute for this Citizens Advisory Committee on Data Center Siting. One is to study the subject of data center siting and recommend to the Commission additional related issues or problems that are in need of study. Advise the Commission, this is number 2, advise the Commission as to how the siting of a data center impacts different areas and groups within the community. And 3, if invited by the Commission to participate without the right to vote in the deliberations of the Commission when the subjects of mutual concern related to data center siting are discussed. It goes through the membership in Section 2, which we've already discussed, and Section 3 is the section dealing with the chair and the vice chair, which would be the 2 members of the Plan Commission that sit on the committee. So whichever one is not chosen as chair will be the vice chair. Section 4 asks for a report back to the Commission by October 1st, 2026. And then Section 5 discusses the volunteerism without per diem, and that meetings are conducted in an open, they're subject to open door law, and that the planning staff is directed to oversee the Citizens Committee in identifying viable candidates to serve on the Citizens Committee. Once you approve this resolution, then you can approve the members as presented.
Yeah, so I need a motion to approve the resolution as presented.
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Yep. All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve this resolution number
2026-1.
2026-1 as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And then we'll have a copy here to pass around for your signature.
So can I make one point about, oh, and here's a copy for signature, which has Scott's name
Okay.
correctly on this one.
Does he need us?
Oh, you misspelled there at the bottom.
Yep, sorry about that. One note that is on the Data Center Committee potential members is on Clark Smith. There's a note that says appointed by council on 4/8/26. Does that mean that the council appointed him to this?
Yes, the county council voted and appointed him.
Okay. These appointments are by the Plan Commission. They're not, appointments by the commissioners are not by the council. So I just want to note that these are Plan Commission appointments. Therefore, the removal could occur by the Plan Commission and not by those bodies. So I just want to point that out, that even though that vote was taken by the council, that's not relevant here because these are Plan Commission appointments as per the statute.
Yeah, but thank you for being so formal about it.
So if anyone disagrees with Clark, then
Well, when it becomes an issue, if something would happen to Clark and he could no
Yeah.
longer serve as county council.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you held a vote, but yeah, it was to decide which of the members. So yeah, I think that's
I
appropriate.
think both are in agreement that Clark would be great, so.
Yep.
Got the ag background.
So, okay. Okay, so with that, our resolution has been adopted. We will pass it around for signature. And then that leaves any discussion on the potential members. And that also means, although that both Renee and myself have agreed to serve the PC on this committee, if one of you would like to be considered, we can certainly do that. Any discussion, any motions on, any discussion on any of the proposed members? Any motions?
Out of curiosity, was there a lot of interest in applying for these positions, or?
Well, there were the 25 initial letters.
Okay.
And then of those 25, once we required them to fill out a formal application, we had 15 applications come in. Yeah.
Okay.
And it was a good varied background. And the applications that came back were thorough. I mean, you have them in your packet here, and all of these folks were very interested, and it was apparent by the time that they took to apply.
We just need a motion, if everyone's
Yeah, I
okay
think-
with the list, it's just a motion to
Just a
Approve.
motion to approve the members.
the members as presented.
Yeah.
I make a motion to approve the members as presented.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the Data Center Committee members as submitted on the attached other business number 2 document. Those members would be Kylie Blaylock, Lacey Willard, Derek Adams, Melissa Jackson, Paul Overhauser, Julie Saddam, Janine Gray, Clark Smith, Mary Zurbach, Samuel Gallion, Renee Oldham, Michael Long, and Philip Hayes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. If any of those people that I just noted are here or listening, we will be in touch. The office will be in touch with you with the meeting schedule. Like I said, it'll be over the next 4 months, 3 months. All right. We'll move on to item number 3, writing stable ordinance.
What's that writing stable?
All right, so a couple months ago, Janine Gray and I met with a resident who's interested in seeing that riding stable as an expanded use across more zoning districts in Hancock County. We did speak about this at the county commissioners briefly, and they turned it back over to the Plan Commission, so it's back here again for you to really give me some guidance on where we're going with this. It is an interesting use to explore. I've put here where riding stable is on our land use matrix under commercial uses as a special exception in ag, rural res, CR, commercial, regional, and institutional. I've also included some similar uses that are under the agricultural zoning district, like animal stables and livestock raising and breeding. Those are permitted in ag and some other zoning districts, a little more liberally allowed to be either special exceptions or permitted uses. So under definitions, you'll see that animal stables is, I'm going to just read through what these things are. The use of any structure with stalls or compartments and or land where animals, excluding dogs and cats, are sheltered and fed. So the use of a structure that looks like it's meant to house animals and does, sheltered and fed. And then we've got livestock raising and breeding, which is a little bit more intensive. The production and upkeep of livestock for the purposes of sale, including the feeding, sheltering, grazing, and shipping of livestock, including the storage of all necessary materials and equipment. And then we have this riding stable use, which falls under that commercial uses. So it's an establishment that shelters and offers upkeep to horses for use by patrons and private owners. Stables generally include grazing pastures and land designated for horseback riding. So horse boarding facility, something like that, a riding, something like along those lines. So it is different in that way from animal stables and livestock raising and breeding. We could also say an arena, something where riding lessons are, things of that nature we would include as riding stable. Then I went into the zoning district descriptions. These are all kind of a broad array of districts where we could foresee riding stables being permitted. And I won't get into those too much, but everything up through our 2.5 is low-density, single-family residential. Land uses developed in suburban-style subdivisions, located adjacent to existing developed areas. Anyway, anything less than that is we start getting into rural housing options, minimal residential development. Let's see, in ag district it says preserve the viability of agricultural operations. So we go from ag where it's by all means preserve the viability of ag. That's the main purpose of that ag zoning district, to residential, rural where it's minimal residential alongside ag, rural housing, to R1 where we're talking about unique rural housing options in a transition between rural areas and higher density residential, and then R2.5 where we're really getting into subdivisions. And then commercial, of course, we have everything from commercial neighborhood where it's very much, your little village downtown type places, to a lot of area actually along US 40 and 52 is zone CN, to commercial community where it's a little bit mid-sized businesses, where we start to see a little bit more auto-centric uses. Commercial regional, which is typically retained for around highway interchanges, and institutional, which is much more like schools and airports, hospitals, big government or public leaning areas, facilities. All right, so the riding stable use is something that we could foresee in a lot of different areas. It really depends on the direction that this board wants to go with it. It's actually more restrictive. I actually had the resident that spoke with us, Heather Hall, who's here tonight. She actually sent me McCordsville's standards, and they're less restrictive than us on this, which is interesting. But the riding stable use potentially could be in additional zoning districts here, or potentially a permitted use even. So special exception, of course, goes to the Board of Zoning Appeals, where the permitted uses would be just submit the proper paperwork and let's make sure you're permitted correctly. You talk to all the departments, you've got a good driveway, you've got good connection to utilities, things like that. And I don't want to speak for McCordsville, so I know I saw some regulations that were more that were a little bit friendlier than ours, but I don't want to speak to their exact regulations on this. So I'm sure they'll have something to say if we do choose to draft an ordinance. It did make me look, though, into planning a little bit and how we deal with agriculture and how we went from, one of the planning documents I looked at was an article actually from the 1950s. I've been on a kick with the older planning documents. It talks about kind of how we got started on some of these regulations. And it talks about how not too long prior to that article being written, it was garages that were considered the outliers in residential areas, that automobiles were considered noxious, and they were not allowed in residential neighborhoods. It was really animals, livery stables and private stables were considered fine in more dense residential areas for quite a while. It was only after the dawn of the automobile and all of this stuff went on, and a lot of planning and zoning goes back to the 1940s as far as ordinances go. Then you start to see shifts and trends and things like that. But anyway, so it really depends on what this board wants to do, and I'd love to turn this over to Heather tonight, who kind of brought this item to our attention. But where I guess would propose this move forward, and this can be now or later, for my purposes, Heather might have some other things to say about that, would be to draft an amendment to the zoning ordinance that would expand riding stable as an allowable land use, special exception or permitted in more zoning districts such as R1, R2.5, CN, CC, in addition to where the use is currently permitted in Ag, RR, CR, and IN. This is definitely a use where, similar to sporting events, riding recreation facilities, children that live in neighborhoods might have the opportunity, adults also with hobbies have the opportunity to be involved with equestrian sports and things like that in more zoning districts. So I will turn it over to you, or if you want to ask me any questions or turn this over to Heather, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, how many people are asking for this? Because this just seemed to come out of the blue.
So this is not a super common request, but it is one that, rather than, we don't do use variances as an area plan commission. So, if we have something happening and it's in a zoning district where this use isn't permitted, like our 2.5, the only option I really have is to come to this board and say, hey, is this still how you envision this use? Or would you see this as being a special exception in our 2.5 and maybe R1?
Well, our 2.2.5 would have like 0.3 acre home. Well, how are you going to put a horse stable and ride a horse around?
Minimum, but a lot of our land masses in more residential areas.
They could rezone it, correct? I mean, if someone's zoned improperly, our 2.5, I don't know why it would be, but say it is, and it's being used actually for ag. Mm-hmm. I would think they should be able to use, if it's being used for ag, why couldn't they just do a special exception since they're using it for ag?
Let's see what we've got.
It's just, the 2.5 one's weird. I mean, I'm thinking of all these neighborhoods, you're not going to put, there's just not enough room to put stables.
All right. So anything yellow is our 2.5. Anything anything dark yellow. Anything light yellow is R1. Already zoned that way today. And
they can come in and get that rezoned to ag. That's the current use. I mean, that's the current use.
That is the current use, but we do not look at current use when it comes to our comprehensive plan. We look at the end use. So let's look at what the future land use plan says. I'm probably going to wish I pulled up a different map. Yeah, this is a bad one. My coloring doesn't match everything right now.
Seems like the issue may not be the riding stables issue. It may be an issue that our land is not zoned properly in a lot of places. That's probably the bigger issue that we need to fix.
Yeah, that's one of those odd things where we've got a lot of land that's already zoned residential.
But if the homeowner wants to zone it back to ag so they can have riding stables because they want to stay there for years, why can't they?
Well,
I mean, they can. I mean, they have to come before us and we would have
that's
to,
true.
and then the commissioners would have to decide, but I don't know why they would pass on it. I mean, I think most people want more ag.
But this map was missed tons of places. The planning commission spent month after month changing for a couple of years, trying to correct things that did not work. Because they didn't use the use, there was a lot of colors. Like the old 13, where those houses are at, where the lake sets, that was zoned ag. And then we tried to change it back to residential, because that's what it was. But then there was a few people in there thought, hey, I don't want you to change mine. I might want to have a couple sheep. So, but I mean, it was year after year after year, the planning commission voluntarily did what you're saying.
So we're in a difficult spot, and I hate to get too specific about the location of certain projects when it comes to things like this. And that's really one where, too, you guys are allowed to say just, no, let's wait until we do a more overall update to the UDO. And if that's the direction, that's fine, too. However, this is just one where Commissioner Gray and I thought there might be a little bit more, or a little bit of wiggle room or desire to see this is a use that maybe goes in potentially more residential areas and is patronized by suburban families.
So
I don't know if I owned, well, I do own R2.5, so if I, I could just see coming in and say, I want a stable, although my HOA would say no. But I mean, I could come in and say, I want a stable.
It would go as a special exception
Yeah, I'd have to come
to
before
the Board of
BZA,
Zoning
but they better vote
Appeals.
for it for me.
yeah,
Well,
well, I mean, I guess the thing is, it's interesting, right? So it's like they could be horses, they could be pets, they could be agriculture, they could be pasturing animals, whatever. But it's the riding stable, it becomes a little bit of a business, right? So that's why if it's in a residential area, it's got to have some oversight. So I mean, at the very least, I wouldn't see any issue with making, just dropping the S in for R1, R2.5, the CN and the CC. I mean, that seems reasonable. I mean, if you want to put a riding stable on your R2.5, your neighbors probably ought to get notice,
well, yeah,
So
but, and then,
it's like a home occupation at that point.
I think that just seems crazy to me. I mean, this is messed up. I mean, that's what we got to.
What is the actual definition of riding stable?
An establishment shelters and offers upkeep.
No. Riding stable is what I'm asking.
It says it's right there. Definitions, riding stable, establishment,
It's specific to horses, I think, so.
horses. There's an animal stable up above.
Me, riding means you've got multiple there and you offer riding.
Right.
We're talking about is someone wanting to put a single building for their own personal
Horses,
horse.
yeah.
That's not a riding stable.
10
why would
years
you-
ago, I was
would you
on a
ever-
committee to do a riding stable for the veterans to come out and ride for their PSD. And the BZA approved, just south of, on Jim Road, I think it's just north of 200, there's a house there that teaches riding to individuals, and they've been through approval by the BZA. That's the only two I know of off the top of my head.
I mean, I guess that I mean, just to keep horses, you have that covered under the animal stables. Livestock grazing, up above. Yeah, so you're looking for some direction here this evening to draft an amendment to the zoning ordinance? Or would you just look for some direction to maybe we vote on a revision to the use matrix next month, maybe?
Which either one, it's both of those are an amendment.
They're the same thing, yeah.
And like I said, I'm happy to turn it over to Heather either before or after you make that decision.
Yeah, I mean, if she's here, she's suffered through, so we can let her talk for sure, so. See if we can learn a little, maybe you'll get some more comfort as to why this is not crazy.
It's still crazy doing that.
Ready?
Yeah, come on.
I'm putting the writings.
Come on up. And this is not a hearing, so we don't need to swear you in, I don't think, but you want.
Do you swear or affirm under the penalty of perjury that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please state your name, spell your last name.
Heather Hall Koenig, HALL-KOENIG.
Okay, go right ahead.
Greetings. There's nothing too strange about horses. I can tell you that right now, friends. My name is Heather Hall Koenig. I have 40 years of experience as an equestrian. We are a dying breed. I am here today to seek support for a 10-acre farm. I started writing when I was 8 years old. It made me who I am today. It made all my friends who they are today as well. This is a classic sport. This is what our military used to do. This is an Olympic sport. And I will do everything I can to support it for the next generation. With my 40 years of experience, I really want to take my working career and give something to the community. I've owned horses my whole life until the last 2 years, which is where I found I couldn't own one anymore. Why? All of the horse stables are closing. We are a dying breed. Why? There's some zoning issues and things like that. That's the honest truth. You have the legacy farm owners who are selling. They're moving to Ocala. They've aged out. No one can afford to buy their properties that are zoned correctly. They get developed into subdivisions. I have been fortunate enough to be able to save my whole life, and my husband supported me, so we can be able to buy a 10-acre farm, and I can give to the next generation and give to current amateurs who need a place to keep their horses. I've boarded along people who have owned $50,000 horses, $100,000 horses, $200,000 horses. We've got no place to go. I gave up my last horse that I imported from Europe, my star performer that I had taken to the national level. He was my best friend. I had to let him go. There was no place left for me to go. I started boarding out in Muncie, driving an hour back and forth as a last resort of a place to keep this horse. I had to let him go because everywhere's closing. The trainers that taught me everything I know, which is a very deep profession, they've aged out. What am I going to do about it? I am here today to say I'm willing to put all my money on the line to build a stable. First and foremost, it'll be a place where I can keep my own horses. I specialize in young horse training. Most of my career has been in hunter jumper, and the most recent 6 years in dressage. I have gone to the national level with horses I have trained myself from nothing. That is my goal. I want to see other amateurs have a way to continue to do this sport too. With 40 years, I've learned a lot of things. I've learned about horse care. One of the things I would suggest that you would have in your ordinance would be just like any other county. Generally, you only offer on the first 2 or 3 acres of property, or even 5, a couple horses, and then 1 horse per every 5,000 square feet or every acre in addition. So for my 10 acres, I would be having 7 horses, as I have a house on it as well. We would not be having a horse on a 3rd acre. So that's impossible, as they need grazing land. You got about 1 acre per horse. So that would be my suggestion to you, to put that in there, that you would have a number of acres per horse, things like that. I will be honest that the 10 acres I'm looking at is of particular interest. You might say to me, well, why don't you just go out somewhere else where there's ag? Of course, I'd love to. But to afford this, my husband and I are employed. My husband has to go downtown for work, and I have to go to the Fort Bend Harrison area. This particular lot on 700 North is a perfect location for us to get to work and still be around to feed our horses, turn our horses out. I mostly work from home, but I do have to go into my building. So the location is super great. We've been looking for 4 years, 4 years. We don't have $3.5 million to buy 80 acres. We've knocked on all the doors of people with parcels for sale, seeing if they'd give us 10, something that was affordable, something that's also manageable. We haven't had any luck. I have lost offers on places due to zoning. I made an offer in Franklin on a lovely property, but it had to go through the variance process, and it sold out from under me because the property owners didn't want to wait. This particular lot, the selling realtor is waiting for this decision because obviously they don't want to take it off the market for me for month after month after month. I've turned this into my part-time job, researching all of the requirements, septic, I've gone through all that. We've been out looking for drain tile 2 weeks ago. I've now moved on to the sewer research. I'm hiring an engineer for plans. I have a huge document of my timeline here, which is just my post-drainage tile plan. I'm very serious about this, and I've learned a lot along the way. I can't believe the hurdles I've had to go through just to have horses, and now I understand more why more farms aren't popping up. You asked about the interest. There's a huge interest from your Range Rover driving crowd for places to have lovely horses with someone like me who has 40 years of experience that knows everything about colic and white line disease. And currently I ride on the side professionally, and my clients really appreciate me. You might also ask, well, Heather, won't this be a subdivision next door someday? It might be, but I have ways to mitigate that risk. I want to involve the community, and I also actually value not being next to shooting ranges. I had a client last year. I do professional freestyle, musical freestyles for clients. And this client had a bullet whiz by her while she was practicing her freestyle in her arena. So to be honest, I don't mind being a little bit more suburban. I do ride at a place that's on 71st and Johnson inside 465, and they have a very successful program there, and they're loved by the community. So I believe I can find the same success. I really would love to be part of your community. I hope that you might welcome me here. We're great citizens. I have a great project to offer and a beautiful property that I think would beautify your area. Any questions?
Okay, so I know it's in 700 North, so I'm guessing you're in Vernon Township is what you're looking at?
It was in Buck Creek, and it's just south of 5538 McCordsville. It's the lot straight south of there. It's only one lot south of the McCordsville city line.
You mean 7 West? Or?
It's north 700 West.
Oh, 700 West. Okay, I was
Yes.
doing 700 North. Okay, that's Buck Creek, yeah.
You did.
And
Is that zoned? Do you know what that's zoned?
Yeah, it's R2.5. It's currently in soybeans right now, so it's 10 acres. It's all farmland there, and the property next door, Madison owns that, and we've become friends. She really wants this property next to her because she also is going to have goats. The previous owner of her property had mules already, so for me, it was kind of crazy that I couldn't have horses there. So yeah, her last owner had mules.
So obviously, it sounds like it's not zoned correctly, but But to get to the point where I think might help us, you mentioned acreage. How many acres should be minimum for a riding stable if we would put that in there? 5 acres, 10 acres? What's the minimum? What would you suggest?
Yeah, I've seen stables as little as 3 acres, which is personally not what I would do. You generally want a solid 1 acre per horse, okay? If you don't, you're looking at overgrazing, your grass isn't growing well, you're looking at mud. But in addition to the size of property, you also have to consider the way it's structured. So this particular property is on Crosby and Brookston clay, so I have to worry about water, okay? So I'm going to put in professional dry lot by OTS Construction, which they take some of the topsoil off so that the horses have a place to go when it's wet. That's actually critical for horses. So if you had a bigger property, you might do less of that because you have more sacrifice lots. But for me, I will have official dry lot. So the size can really vary. For me, as just a couple owning a property, which we're not going to employ anyone, 10 acres is a lot to mow. in a lot for the number of horses I would have. So 10 acres is kind of the max I'd like to go.
So it sounds like either 3 or 5 acres would be the minimum.
For me personally, I would say 5, but I also have friends that have 3 acres.
I know, but if I'm
Yeah.
doing, which
If
I
you're
still
doing
don't
an
understand,
ordinance-
R2.5 in some areas,
Yeah.
it's not properly zoned correct. But if we're going to allow any zoning district, which is what we could do, then, and make it S, but at least we need to give some guidance to the BZA to say, hey, it has to be at least 5 acres.
Yes, and the one thing I'd recommend is a lot of the other counties, they have this already written up. In fact, McCordsville, which Kayla alluded to, they have one right here. If I was just 2 lots north, this wouldn't be an issue at all. It's actually 154.00 or 077 farm animals. They're already included in here. They call stables stalls. That's very European. And they allow 1 horse on the first 2 acres and then 1 horse thereafter for every acre. But in every county has that. They have a count of horses that's allowed, and it's roughly the same. Yeah, so you have a benchmark.
Well, yeah, I think maybe we just need to give the staff some direction to maybe draft this amendment and further define riding stable and do the minimum acreage and the number of animals per acre.
Mr. President, since Ag Attorney Steve Ellsbury's here, can we ask him some questions?
Ag attorney.
Well, that's what he does.
If he's,
I don't do that area law.
if he's willing, are you willing?
The one thing I guess I would say, sitting back there listening, Kayla, can you help me here a second? So on that land use matrix, can you find agribusiness type 1? Somewhere in my mind, when we drafted that, horseback riding is allowed, and it's more S's than what you've already got. So the problem with your agribusiness is it's got to be subject to an existing. But if there's already a farm there, if it's 10 acres and they've got mules or whatever, horseback riding allows the public to come as type 1, and it's permitted in ag. It's a special exception in a whole number of those that already fit wherever it went. But that may be something to consider. It's not defined like a riding stable, but horseback riding was something we specifically included for that very reason, to allow this to be not in your neighborhood, but in places that are zoned R2.5 that are already ag. There's a lot of that in our county.
There we go.
So maybe I'm losing my mind, but I thought that was already a special exception in a number of those places. And if she's already got a farm and is just going to have horseback riding for the public or however it's going to be, that's already...
Type 1 is special, and 2 are both special exception in our 2.5.
So it already is to some extent, Scott, and
That's true.
you have to check and see if I'm pretty sure horseback riding is in the definition of type 1, but you may not have to reinvent the wheel if you can approve it type 1 already. We had a lot of fun when we drafted that ordinance.
Well, yeah, it's a good point. I mean, the A piece of it, I wasn't overly concerned about because of the agribusiness.
And we did have a horseback riding stable that I went through the process last year. It didn't end up going in, but it was actually in an ag. And that's one of them where if any of these is going to be permitted, it needs to be in ag. Good grief, if you're not going to allow people to ride horses and all their horses and other.
Yeah, horseback riding is in the definition.
This does talk about it as the definition. However, hold on, this is one of those that I want to check everything before I say anything. So
I just threw this at
he
did it, that's his fault, but I remember that being something that we included as.
Okay, it is in definition as a riding stable, and that was a good catch. So agribusiness type 2 potentially. Okay.
It's the same deal, it's already a special exception, so you don't.
And then I know we have a list of, that might help.
It's the business part of it that makes me feel like the special exception would be applicable. If it's an animal stable, that's a little bit different, where it's permitted by right in the ag districts. But when you're bringing the business piece into it, I think there needs to be some public notice.
So Mike, do you remember the one you approved on Jim Road? For writing table, for
On Jim-
education?
On Jim Road? It's not coming back to me. Jim Road.
Yeah, it was
500
just on Jim Road, just south of 200, there's a whole bunch of great big like pine trees. You can't see anything. And there's a driveway that goes back into the woods.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a house.
Yeah.
And the daughter taught writing lessons there. And it must have not have been in ag because she had to come in for a special exception to get it approved. So we might have maneuvered, animal stables with this and that.
It was,
Yeah.
I bet you it was R1. They blanketed Sugar Creek Township with R1 for zoning. I don't know why.
So we probably did it under the animal,
You don't
like
wanna
under
talk
the
about that
stable.
map. 2007, they,
I know.
it just said, let's approve the map, and then we should have looked at it a lot closer.
I don't know that I was, you think that was in 2007? I don't think I was on the BZA then.
No, not the writing stable, it was,
Oh, I was gonna say,
we're talking about the map. The map was 2007.
okay.
Anyway, it'd be interesting to look up what we did.
Yeah. I mean, I'm certainly open to a revision, and I think that the direction that I would offer would be, starting with the special exceptions, but maybe we need to check our cross-reference to agribusiness for the A zones.
Yeah, it might fit that. I'm
wouldn't-
sorry, I didn't catch that.
We wouldn't necessarily need the special exception in the A because it could follow as well, maybe we should have it just to double check to make sure
I'm
that.
just a little confused why we're doing the commercial use. I mean, if she's looking for 2.5, she's saying it already is 2.5.
Yeah. So I think
Why didn't she just come to the
But
BZA?
we might be able to pursue the agribusiness.
Yeah, well, for this specific case, but,
Yeah.
because
but
hers is
generally.
A, right? So, but I do think that she brought up some interesting points about the number of animals per acre, which I don't think we talk about anywhere, that we should probably, because we've had that issue. I remember we had a case not too long ago where somebody had a ridiculous amount of animals on like a 1 acre parcel or something. It was unsafe.
Yeah, she gave some
So,
great advice on that and the
yeah.
minimum acres. I think those are things we looked at.
Yeah, on the BZA, you kept seeing that one,
Mm-hmm.
but the one lady kept bringing it in because there were several horses in a small area and she thought they were being abused.
Yeah. Well, and maybe we just need to reference some sort of, I don't know, there's some, the Board of Animal Health or something just needs to be referenced or something to control some of those things.
Yeah. No, we can, let's look into that. And that maybe is one that we can look into a little bit more than is just a.
Yeah, I mean, it may be, when you talk about, it sounds like McCourtsville has a number of animals per acre, but we're probably not the right body to determine that. It's like, it's probably more the Board of Animal Health or something like that needs to be referenced.
Stables.
Yeah, something, yeah.
There's a very, very large surplus of horses that they're too expensive and people cannot find a place to put them.
Oh, no.
I can't let that one go. That already is in our zoning ordinance, and it's IDIM, and that's whether it rises to the level of a confined feeding operation. So you'd be very careful with that, because IDIM already regulates that, and it cites that in our zoning ordinance. So numbers of animals, I'm guilty of that. I've got 40 head of ewes in my barns that I'm lambing out right now on a very small area, but that's because they're inside, so they have babies. And then when the weather warms up, they go out back on pasture. But on per acre areas, that's regulated by IDIM. So you're correct, this is not the appropriate place. And I'll sit down.
You're fine.
I can say just one more thing. I really, really appreciate you guys hearing me tonight. I know I'm this weird rando equestrian, but I will say this. It sounds like we may have a path. I just do want to emphasize that the owner, this is a vacant lot right now. It's in Beans, okay? And I know they're not going to wait on me forever, right? Because they want to sell the lot and they don't want to tie it up with me who's him-hawing around forever. So, but having said that, I very much respect the processes. And I'm glad I could bring some things tonight that may help other people too, and if I can be of any help let me know. Thank you.
Yep. All right, so the staff, you'll take a look at this definition and maybe bring something back to us on that. Okay, we'll move on to item number 4, which is our Plat Committee appointee, which we continued from last month to this month, and here we are with only 5 members this month, which makes, the reason we continued it before is we were afraid that we were with 6 members and we didn't think that we could have an adequate vote. So unless you guys all feel comfortable that we could nominate somebody and all 5 of us vote yes, we may be well suited to.
How many applicants are there now?
There's still the 3.
3? There was 2 last time.
Well, there's always been 3. There's Dr. Hitchcock, Bill Bolander, and Darla Smoke were our 3 applicants for that.
You
So
all have the same person in mind?
I have no idea. I guess it wouldn't hurt if somebody feels strongly and wants to make a nomination, we could see how the vote goes on that. But otherwise, we can continue it to next month when we hopefully would have a full board, or at least a much closer to a full board.
For sure, the Plat Committee would like to have another member. This
Yeah.
is what? April?
Yeah, this is April. It would put us to May. We'd be getting close to half the year without somebody, right? So,
Yep.
I
Yeah.
nominate Todd Hitchcock.
Okay, so we have a nomination. Do we have a second to nominate Dr. Todd Hitchcock?
Is that the superintendent from?
Yeah, he's the superintendent of Morristown Schools, I believe.
Oh, Shelby, I thought it was Shelby County.
Shelby
Well,
East-
it is Shelby County.
Eastern School District.
Yeah, but
it's
he's
still
a,
Morristown.
but he's a resident, I believe, of New Palestine or Sugar Creek Township.
400 West in New Palestine.
Yeah. The Plat Committee is kind of regulated by school district, which kind of implies that there's some.
They're all in Sugar Creek Township, I think.
All the Plat Committee
No,
members?
the
Yeah,
3
because that's what
applicants.
we're trying to do, Sugar
3
Creek
applicants.
Township.
Yeah, it's the New Palestine School District is what it is, what you're nominating for.
No, it's Sugar Creek Township,
Yeah,
yes.
but it's by school district, right? The
New
Plat.
Pal is the-
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So did our nomination fall flat?
Yeah, I do a motion to continue. It looks like we're split.
Okay.
I thought that's who you wanted.
Well, we have a nomination for Dr. Hitchcock. If we want to go to a vote, I can second that as the chair. I'll second Dr. Hitchcock. So with that, we can take a vote. We can call the roll on that, on the nomination of Dr. Hitchcock for the Plat Committee.
Yes.
Mr. Holden,
Yes.
Yes.
Well, if we can get it passed, I'll say yes.
Mr. Fowl,
Yes.
So 5-0. So that, all right. Well, we did it. We got a Plat Committee member, Dr. Hitchcock. Kayla, he had emailed me. I can email him. I'll copy you, and then you can give him the lowdown on the next meetings and all that stuff. So.
Brother's already on.
Okay, last item number 5, home occupation standards ordinance update.
I emailed some easy revisions to our home occ standards to Mike and Janine, and I don't think I heard back. So there's not much to report on that.
You sent me something on that?
It's been a while. But it's okay. I don't have anything new, but it was something I was curious if you wanted me to look at, or if we want to keep doing what we're doing at the BZA, we can do that too.
I apologize. I'll look at that again. I think I do remember seeing that. Was that a while ago?
It was a while ago.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't have anything new to add. I just wanted to mention it just in case there was any feedback or thought on it, or we just need to hold off on that. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, so to kind of let you guys know, so this whole UDO thing, as you know, we originally thought we were going to do this UDO update, which is the reformat project, but we thought we were going to try to add a couple of things in to that first approval of the reformat, but then we thought we'd also try to update the home occupation and
ADUs.
accessory dwelling units. Since we're kind of dragging out a little bit and we're still not there yet, we thought about maybe looking at home occupation, updating it under our normal process, and then it would end up in the reformat project that way. But it would, again, it would follow our current process, which is the idea still in keeping with the idea of the reformat project. So, but yeah, keep it on the agenda for next month, and I'll review that and check in with Janine as well. I think that's everything. Do we have anybody that would like to say anything? Any public comment? It's not on our agenda, but I think that's something I wanted to also, it reminded me, do you guys want to have a public comment section on our agenda? Where the public could comment on just anything they would like to come and comment to the.
Only if it's on the agenda. You will let, if somebody raises their hand in the middle, one of other business.
I guess that's where I was going is, do you want to have it on the agenda as a standing agenda item? So people know that they could come and speak on any matter pertaining.
I would want it to be an agenda item. I don't want to hear someone coming up. I don't want to have a whole bunch of people come in and just talk about data centers or something. You know what I'm saying? That's not before us.
If somebody wants to speak, they should contact the office and get on the agenda. Okay, all right. Okay, all right.
Yeah, motion to adjourn.
All right, moved and seconded twice to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you.